Okay, so now I'm going to show you what the pants look like on. Remember, it's Newlook 6644, and there's the cat, and there goes the cat. He's been fed. This is the wonderful side pocket, and you can see how nice and flat it sits. There is no overlocking in here, so it's sitting really, really well. These are cargo pants, so they've got the side pockets here, and then they've got the lovely back pocket, and you can see the back is elasticized, which is wonderful. And again, side pocket here, and the nice side pockets here. Okay, so being elasticized, what that means is it's got 3 rows in here, 3 casings. The bottom one's got elastic, the top one's got elastic, and the middle one's got a cord, so you can adjust it. So very, very comfortable, and with stretch fabric it means I can eat and expand and go back in as the day goes, so it's all good. So now I'm going to show you something really, really practical for your car, or you could make these for beside your sewing machine and finish the top part off in a different way, whatever works for you. So it is a rubbish bag, oops, little rubbish bag, and you can make it out of cotton fabric. You could upcycle fabric that you've got. You can put a hanger on it so it goes over the gear stick, and on the inside I've got Parker nylon. So this one can be completely wiped down, right? The one I'm going to make now would need to go in the washing machine. So this one can be wiped down, and I've made this one 5 centimeters deeper than your pattern. Now on the pattern I said to cut 2 pieces 10 by 10, but just cut one 20 by 10 and only have 1 seam. Make life easy for yourself. This one I'm making deeper as well because I think I like the bigger one. Lots of rubbish. So all we're going to do, oh, this has got a big crease in it. I'm just going to iron out that crease. So all I'm going to do is put right side to right side, and I'm going to sew across the bottom and up the side. That's all I'm going to do, okay? So across the bottom and up the side. So I'll just do that now. I don't need to stop in the corners or anything. I can just sew it. And I'll just leave this colour thread on. Oops, 1 stitch too far. And turn it, and then sew up the side. So I don't need to leave an opening on the outer. However, on the inner, this inner here, I cut this one to size? No, but I will. One moment while I cut it to size. I thought I had and I haven't. I'll do a Robin original and just quickly cut it to size. The one I've cut to size for the video is obviously sitting somewhere safe, but not right in front of me, so I'll just cut this one. I know you'd all do this at home as well, so I'm just making you feel better. Cut that to size, and I need to cut the top to make sure it's even and it's going to fit, and I will cut across the top. So now I have 2 pieces that are actually going to fit when I put them together, which is probably a good thing. Excellent. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave an opening. So the opening, I'm going to be threading through this, which is boning. So this boning is wired, and it's plastic actually, sorry. It's plastic, it feels like wire, and it's got 4 little rows of little plastic tubing inside it, and it's used for corsets. But I'm going to use it round the top to hold out my rubbish bag. So I don't need my opening to be very big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin, and I'm just going to sew that little seam at the top. Then I'm just going to leave a gap for my boning to go in. So I'm not leaving a very big gap because it doesn't need, it's not a very big boning. So whatever you're going to thread through here to stiffen it is the gap size you need. So now I'm going to sew across the bottom and sew up the side seam. So remember, I always now use my left foot. And you really don't need to pin it. It's a very small bag to make. And it's very quick to make. Up the side. When you get to your pin or your mark, you're going to back stitch. And cut. And yes, you'd use cream thread, but I'm just doing this quickly. Go forward, back, and forwards. And cut. Two things you need to do, really important. The first one is you're going to take off your sew table and you're going to open out your little seam only at the very top. So you want to open out your seam like this so you can see your opening. And I'm going to baste down these seams so that it's nice and flat for when I thread my tape through. So I'm going to turn it over to the right side and I'm just going to put my machine on a long stitch and I'm just going to baste because I'm going to pull these out. Saying that, I still haven't pulled them out of the trousers I'm wearing, so I must do that. So whenever I'm threading through, I'm always basting, because it holds my work. So this is all I've done. Oops, my thread. Oh, look, that bit didn't stitch. I'll just re-stitch that little bit. I don't know why that didn't stitch. I think I've got my bobbin thread there. Unless my bobbin thread's run out. I think we should be right. Have a look. Doesn't matter, it's coming out anyway. No, that's all good. So this is just a temporary hold until I've sewn my braid. So see my opening, and I've just basted around it. It stops this from flipping up, this here, from flipping up when you thread your cord through. So that's all you've done. Then I'm going to do the same on my outer. Open that part of my seam up. No opening because it's the outer, and baste around that the same. So it's just holding your seam flat for threading your cord or your elastic, or in this case the boning flat. Go down, doesn't matter if you do it too long because you're going to be pulling it out. And back up the other side. Okay. Thank you. Now, all you want to do now, you could leave your bag like this, but I have boxed the bag out. So I put a base in the bag, so it pushes the bottom of the bag out. If you don't want to do that, don't do this bit. But if you're going to do it, you simply fold your fabric. First of all, actually get a crease line on the side because you haven't got a side seam to follow now. So put a crease line, so you've got a crease line, and that crease line, when you open it out, I'll show you this way, when you open that crease line out, it's going to go to your seam line you've already done. So that crease line's going on your seam. Okay, like that. Now you're going to sit this down on the table. You're going to get your little ruler and you're going to measure 3 inches across. And excellent, this ruler is not a inches ruler, so we're just going to do this. We're going to go 3 inches across from side to side. And just so I can show you, it's going to be 1.5 inches to my seam. So from here to my seam is 1.5 inches, and to the other side is 3 inches, so that you get your base flat and square. So 1.5 inches from there to there, and 1.5 inches from there to there. So I'm going to rule it. So I'm going to get it nice and square, and I'm just going to rule it with, I'll just use the blue pen so you can see. So 1.5 inches from there, 1.5 inches to there, And if you're worried it's not even, you can measure from here to the point and here to the point to make sure it's exactly the same. Actually, I'm going to use the blue. It's not showing up. And it fades, that one, so I think I'll use the blue one so you can see it better. That's better. Can you see that now? So that's 3 inches from there to there, 1.5 to there, and 1.5 from there. So now I'm going to stitch across there, and I'm going to do the same to all 4 ends. So there's 1, and now here's 2, and put my seam to seam. Make sure, you'll laugh at this, make sure that your seams are going the same way, not like every bag I've made, and I didn't check that, so make sure this seam is going the same way. So now I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to measure across 3 inches from there to there, and draw it and stitch it, and then I do the same to the base. Okay, so 4 seams, 1 here, 2 here, and that's going to make my bag. All right, then I'm going to do the same to this one. Open it out, seam to seam, press my seam the same way. You can see through this one, so you can see where it's going, and you can pin it, and then you're going to mark it 3 inches across. So it's very, very easy when you know how. There to there, get my blue pen, draw across, oops, draw across. It's a bit slippery on the old, Now, it's very hard to make a crease, so use your nail to make the crease mark. Make sure your seam is facing the same way. See, I can see you all smiling because I did it wrong in class the other day. And now you know you can do this one exactly the same. 3 inches, 1.5 inches. Where's my 1.5 inches? There we are. 3 inches there. And bring it down so it's nice and even. Oops, slippery. And draw across there. Okay. Excellent. So now you're going to sew all 4 edges. I'll leave this off because I need it off for the next piece. So I just come down. Make sure you clear your stitch length so that it is on your 2.5 seam, because you're sewing your base now. And always start in and go back. Don't start on the very edge. So into here and go back, and then go across. Then reverse it. And I don't cut this off, I just go on to the next piece. You don't need to go cutting it off. Come right down to the other edge and reverse. And then what I normally do is I cut in between there, and then I leave that one on and I carry on. I don't just stop and start. A, it saves thread, and B, it's quicker. Because I had a thread to hold on to, I didn't need to reverse that up first because I had something that had tension on it. So again, I've got tension on here, so when I cut this and go and do this one, I can start right from the edge. Make sure it's flat. See, so you've got like a tensioner, so you don't have to worry. Now the only thing I need to do now is to make my little tie, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to get the fabric, and I've cut it 2.5 inches wide. I think in the notes it said 3 inches, but we decided it didn't need to be that big, and you can make it as long as you like it. I'm going to make this one 30 centimeters, which is 12 inches. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it and pull it through. You cannot do that on this fabric. So what I did on this fabric, because it's laminated, I just pressed both sides into the center like that. Both sides of the center, and then I folded them in half like that. So I Here's my whole piece. I went centre, tricky standing it up, and centre, and then, a moment please, and then folded it in half like that, and I edge stitched around it. With fabric, I can put right side to right side and sew my seam. Okay, so I can just put right side to right side, start in, sew back, and sew all the way down. I don't need to worry. So I go all the way down. And I'm going to use my trusty loop turner because I love my, I love my loop turner. There's my loop turner. Put it through my fabric, hook it, so get the little hook it around, and it's all the way you hold your mouth, and just keep the tension on it and pull it all the way through. Okay, then you can give it a little press, and I press the seam towards the back sometimes, but on this one I'm going to press it, just roll it so my seam's on the side and give it a quick press. So very, very easy. And normally I edge stitch around both sides. So edge stitch foot number 10. Again, I'm leaving the sew table off for the next step. So edge stitch foot number 10, put that down. Tell my machine what I'm doing. Oops, tell my machine. 10D, and needle position to the left, longer stitch length, and just stitch down both sides. Luckily that thread looks great on the outside of this fabric, that was handy. You do not need to go across the ends, so when it lifts up, just lift up your fabric. Stitch down the other side, and your machine won't do anything if you sew off the end. So all you do now, clip, and I'll just clip off that mess, is fold your handle in half like that, so that when it folds up it's going to hang. Which way do we want it to hang? Let's just think about this. Go like that. So I want it to hang like that. So I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm just going to put a clip in it. I'm not going to cut off any of this fabric under here because I'm going to leave all of this thickness in here. I'm going to get my side seam of my fabric here, my two side seams. I'm going to open it out. I'm going to get a quarter mark and open it up. So side seam, the front or the back, quarter mark, and I'm going to put my clip right into the center. So this hanger is going to be at the quarter marking, and this will go on the back. So I just do a little stitch to hold it. It's not for any reason, just to hold it. It's done. It's just to hold it. So now I put my normal foot back on, clear my work. Remember, number 1 foot. Tell my machine. You don't have to do this on all machines, just these big ones. Number 1D, done. And I'm going to put my seam to seam. So obviously they're both in the wrong way. So I'm going to pop this one in the right way and put it inside my bag. So right side to right side, like this. You can pin or clip it. I'm just going to clip it, and I'm going to sew all the way around in a circle. I've done it again. I did this in class. I've done it again. I've forgotten to leave my opening. Excellent. So before you sew it all together, leave an opening to turn through. I know this is going to make you all feel amazing because I've already done it once in class. So leave a 3-inch opening at the bottom of your lining. Brilliant. Or else you can't turn it through. If I didn't do this, I would have to leave an opening at the top, and I don't mind doing that, but it's not as tidy. I like to leave the opening in the bottom so you don't see where you've joined it. And I would much rather do it now because I think it's a much tidier finish, even though it's a rubbish bag. Let's just try that again. So there's my opening. I can turn it through now. Certainly you can leave an opening at the top, but I think it's much nicer to leave it at the bottom. Okay, and obviously I'd want to sew that in cream thread, but will I? No, because it's a rubbish bag. Excellent. Now let's take 2. So yeah, make you feel better that I do the mistakes as well regularly. Sew around the top, all the way around. Make sure you've got your handle nice and square there, that you haven't tucked it up or anything weird. So make sure you put a clip so it's not tucked up, and this will fit perfectly because you've stitched it perfectly. Now you put it right over your sew table and you just run your foot along the edge. Your machine stitch should be on 2.5, and just sew all the way around and overlap it. Very, very quick and easy. I'm actually going to show you how to sew it up just with this coloured thread, because then you really see what to do. I certainly don't hand stitch the opening of a rubbish bin for my car. Very easy, and such a lovely gift to make somebody, for anybody. I think my son needs one about this big by this big. I feel this one for my son would be too small. It needs to be that big by that big, because I've seen the inside of his car. I don't even know if a rubbish bin would work really. Only joking. So now I have done all around the top. I can turn my whole bag in through my opening I previously made, and know that I don't have to worry. Now, normally I would have cream thread. I would sew in this in cream thread, but just to show you, all I do for the opening is I just put my seam together like that, because it folds perfectly where you had it, and I hold it tight and I put my foot down and I just go forward before my opening, and then I sew all the way along the edge, just using my foot, the inside of my foot as a guide, and I sew all the way past it, and that's all I do. And that's how I do all my openings inside my bag. I don't hand stitch. I only hand stitch if it's needs to be hand stitched for a garment, but I certainly don't normally do blue thread. Okay, and there you have your opening, which is now closed. Now you pop this inside your bag, roll it, you can press it if you like, and all you're going to do is you're going to do a top stitch lower than where your opening is. So you know how we left an opening to sew, to put our boning in it. We just roll this and we run a stitch around lower than our boning opening. Now our boning opening is here, right there, okay? So we want the stitch to be basically right there. So you can put a mark, or you can sew it from the wrong side, but make sure you roll all of this so that it's sitting nice and flat. And yes, you can run an edge stitch around the top with a number 10 foot if you like, and that will hold it all. I'm not going to worry for this one, but I can run, oh, I think that pin's a bit short. Cute. But I won't worry on this one, but you can. Got an old little thread floating there. So the reason why I'm using pins is because I just want that to hold, oops, and not move, because I'm got to stitch it and I've got the slippery underneath. So I know that my foot needs to be here. So I'm putting it on 1.5 5/8 or 1.5 seam, and that's perfect. So I'm going to lengthen it out because I'm top stitching it to 3, and I'm going to go forward and reverse at my opening, and I'm going to go all the way around. Okay, and when I do it, I just hold it nice and firm. I stop at my pins, my needle function is down. So you can see this one, if you want to have a close-up of that, I've done a row of edge stitching around this one and then a row of stitching below it to put my casing. This one I'm not edge stitching, I'm just going to sew it. It's your choice whether you edge stitch it or just stitch it. Depends how much of a feature you want to make it. It is only a rubbish bag. But I just think this fabric's wonderful, so I've picked this for my car, even though I will have blue stitching on the inside. I like the fabric. Then back stitch. There we go. And now that that's all done, leave your basting in there. Do not take your basting out yet. I have done that before today. I've taken the basting out at this stage and gone, that was a waste of time because now I need it. So, now what I'm going to do, there's my opening. Put a bit of, to tell you the truth, put a bit of tape on the edge of that because they're quite sharp. I just put a bit of sellotape and then thread this through the top of your bag. Oh, there's a thread I haven't done. And this makes a wonderful rubbish bag. So I could switch this up and I could make this as a bag for beside my sewing machine if I want, for a rubbish bag. And then instead of this, I could join it onto a tile and put a pincushion on top. So you could do all sorts of things with this bag. So come all the way around, and I'm just going to cut it so it's going to overlap like that. I'm going to push this to the end, and then I'm going to push this back in, keep going, and tuck it in, push it back in, tuck it in, there, like that. And what I do then is I just hand stitch through those two ends, through here, and hold it there. But honestly, it goes nowhere. And there is your rubbish bag. So you can see this one is out of your cotton fabric with your parka nylon inside, and this one is out of the laminated fabric with the parka nylon inside. So they are a wonderful little bag, but a very useful bag. But what I was saying about having it beside my machine, I could have this on the right hand side here like that, and I could have a tile, and then I could have it so the pincushion sits on there and it would sit just beside there for picking up all my rubbish. So, you know, it can double up for all sorts of things. But I think they're a great little bag, and they're certainly a useful little bag, especially for your car. Now, in the notes for Banana Club, I've given you another bag for your car, but it goes on the back of your headrest, and I can't copy it off because it would be copyright, but I'm able to give you the link. So in your notes, you have got a link to a bag that's similar to this, but it goes around your headrest. And so that's a really nice one as well for anyone that's in the back seat that wants to put rubbish in, and it just keeps your car tidy, especially if you're on a long trip. Now, as I said, I've got my little basting on here. So now what I do, wherever I put my quick unpick, I don't know, but now all I do is take out the basting, like that, and like that, and like that. Is very, very, very much the same colour. It's quite hard to see. And now just pull it out. So you pull all your basting out. There it is. That's out of that side, and that's out of that side, and the same to this side. You can see the basting. It was only there to hold everything flat, and now I can pull it all out. Oops. It's brilliant. So I must take it out of the side of my trousers where I've done it as well, because I have forgotten to do it. There it is, and then the other half of it will just come out, pull out. So there's all the basting out and it's all nice and tidy. Realistically, I don't need to do that little edge around the top. It's fine, it's sitting nice and fine. And all I need to do, and realistically don't even need to do it, but if you want to do it, you can hand stitch that opening, wherever it is. There. You can hand stitch through that opening and it will hold that there. It can't go anywhere, so it really doesn't matter. But if you want to do it, you can. So there you have our 2 ideas for Banana Club. So I hope that you will try the pocket idea, and I certainly think everybody needs to make a rubbish bag for their car. And have a good rest of your month, and hopefully everyone will keep safe and dry and warm, and I will see you in March.